When our best fur friends leave our world, many of us are left wanting one last scritch, one last hug, one last walk together. One Last Network is a space for pet guardians to honor their pets in their senior years and to cope with the days leading up to and after their passing. Here's your host, Angela Schneider, founder of One Last Network and Big White Dog Photography in Spokane, Washington.
Hi, and welcome to One Last Network. The business of pet photography draws many people who have experienced loss, the kind of loss that leaves a hole that often feels like it can never be filled. We may come from other genres of photography, landscape or wedding and family portraiture. We look at our cameras and know it's the tool that gave us so many great images of our own dogs. But we never turned the cameras on ourselves. We never got the great portraits of us and our dogs together. Then they were gone. Our best fur friends posed for our cameras no more, and we were left with silly selfies, digital dust in the bottomless ocean of our social media feeds. And then we decided to change that for other people. We make a conscious decision to ensure humans have amazing portraits of themselves with their best fur friends, printed on their walls or in beautiful photo albums. My guest today, Nancy Kieffer, is no different. When her midnight died of lymphoma at 4, she realized there was more than landscapes that she had to do with her camera. She started volunteering for rescues in Syracuse, New York, and then Nancy Kieffer Photography was born. She shares that journey with us today. Have a listen. Hello, Nancy Kieffer of Nancy Kieffer Photography. How are you today?
I am good. How are you, Angela?
Hey, why don't we start off by having you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, where you're based, and all the good basic things.
Well, I am Nancy, and I live in Syracuse, New York, and I basically service all of the central New York area. I am a photographer of pets and rescues and everything. So I do have a day job, so I do this on the side, but I got into photography again once I was kind of stressed out at work and finding that I needed a creative outlet.
What's your
And
boring 9 to 5?
I am a dietitian at a psychiatric hospital right now, so
Wow.
it can be stressful at times. But when I actually got back into photography, I was working in nursing homes and was working a lot of hours at that time. So, and it was just very stressful. I had a management job and I just felt that I needed some release in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I always loved photography, so I started out as in landscape photography, but then I started with the rescues and kind of transferred over to pet photography.
How did you get into working with rescues?
I've always loved animals, so I actually started out volunteering at the zoo, and then my niece was actually working at a rescue and thought, oh, that would be great. And so I started volunteering there. When a new rescue opened up by me, that they're special in that they're training inmates, having inmates train the dogs. So I thought that would be really special because it was a second chance for everyone, a second chance for the dogs, and second chance for the inmates. So I actually transferred over to that rescue and loved it ever since. So
What is it that drives you to want to work with these animals that need a second chance?
when I see them, I know that they're so adorable and so lovable. And I can't see them being put down to have a dog put down when they're perfectly healthy. And actually, you just reminded me of when I was growing up, my vet, my next door neighbor was a veterinarian. And because I loved animals so much, I decided to volunteer for a little while to see if I wanted to be a veterinarian. And he was, he tended to work with the big animals, and his partner worked with the small animals at the animal hospital. So I was with his partner at one time, and someone brought in a litter of blind puppies
Oh.
to be put down. And I was incredulous that because they were putting them down, they were perfectly good. They were just blind, and they were put down, and it was like, because this is what a client asked us to do, so we did it. But that really tore me apart.
Mhm.
And so that actually kind of made me rethink, do I really want to be a veterinarian? If you know if people are bringing me these animals that are perfectly healthy, other than being blind, do I really want to do that? So maybe that's part of it.
Hmm. It sounds like it could be. That must have been a very traumatic experience for you as well.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So who is Midnight?
Midnight was my first dog that I got as an adult. And he was just my soul dog, if you will. He I got him when as a puppy. A coworker had puppies. Her dog had puppies, and so I went to see them, and both my sister and myself fell in love with two of the puppies. And Midnight was mine, and my sister brought home her brown chocolate lab, which is Bo. And Midnight, he was so smart from the first. He was a troublemaker though at first. I had a very hard time. He was uh crying for his mom. We had taken them from their mom too soon, because the co-worker's husband was, ready for them to be out of the house. So they went out of the house. um, but then after I had a trainer in one day to help me, because I was going a little out of my mind with his crying and stuff. But he just turned around. He turned around into my little prince like overnight, it seemed. And he was with me everywhere. He would go, we would take long walks in the morning and long walks at night. And he was just by my side all the time. And he was so smart and so affectionate to everyone that would come his way. When he was close to 4 years old, I came home from work one day, and he had vomited all over the place. And so I took him to the doctor and found out that he had lymphoma. Unfortunately, there wasn't much they could do. They could I could go down to uh, Cornell, to the big hospital, animal hospital by us, and spend a lot of money, and then they would only give him maybe 3 months. That wouldn't be a cure at all. We did some things to help him out for a while, but basically he just turned 4 when he died.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was devastating.
So how did you manage your grief then, or did you at all? Because it's hard.
Yeah, it is. I th I think I didn't really manage it all that well then. Luckily, people at work were very understanding. So I think I took at least a day off of work. But I also felt a lot of guilt, because I didn't take him to the Cornell University. I didn't take him down there. I didn't spend that extra money. Spent a lot of money on him, but not what I would have liked to have spent, let's say. So I had a lot of guilt with that. Um, I had a lot of guilt thinking, was there anything I did that caused him to get lymphoma?
Ouch. Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, because, was there anything in the environment or anything that, you know, kind of contributed to it?
Hmm.
So I'm not sure I dealt with it very well at that point. And that is around the time that I was getting stressed out at work too. And maybe that took me back into the photography itself and that and I was taking a lot of pictures of midnight, don't get me wrong, because I've always loved photography, but uh but maybe the stress of that and the stress of work is what made me think of going back into photography.
Now that you're a certified pet loss grief specialist with One Last Network, can you look back at those days with Midnight and see that maybe based on the diagnosis, taking him to Cornell wouldn't have mattered?
I do see that.
Yeah.
I do see that. And and I think what I ended up doing with him, because I knew for 2 months before he passed that he was going to pass. So we did do a lot of bucket list things. So we looked to the bucket list and of things we I wanted to do with him and go on different walks and other places. So we did some of those things.
Even then you knew to fill his remaining days with love and light and joy and fun things.
Oh yes, definitely.
That was important to you and to
It
him.
was definitely important to me and to him. And
So you know by now that um, two things are very foundational to how I teach grief and managing grief for our helping supporting our clients who are in anticipatory or post-death grief, and that is A, stories, and B, meaning. I want you to tell us one story about Midnight that just sets your heart soaring or makes you laugh or brings back all of the good things that Midnight is.
yeah, one of one of the things that I remember about Midnight is again he was a sibling to my sister's dog Bo, and so we would go take them both to Buffalo to visit my mom, and we would clip them in the back seat in seat belts so that they would be nice and safe, and Midnight would be out of his within 15 minutes. he knew exactly how to get out. So then there was this one time that we're doing this. We get out. I tighten the seatbelt, tighten the seatbelt. 15 minutes later, he's out of it again. And not only is he out of it again, he's chewing Bo's seatbelt so he can get him out of it.
Oh no.
Yeah. So he knew exactly what he needed to do to get Bo out of his seatbelt.
I'm gonna free you too, little buddy.
This is one of the things that I'll always remember.
That is a fantastic story. So now how are you bringing meaning to moments like that and all of the good things about Midnight now that he lives in your heart?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that drives me in as far as the portraiture is because I didn't have the portraits of Midnight, of me and him together. That is what I want to give to my clients, is to make sure that they have those memories. And my focus is really on getting memories of the pet as well and the client together, so that they have those.
That is such a common thread in our industry. It's true for me that the pain of losing my special dog helped drive me toward what we do. How do you take that pain and manifest it into something so beautiful?
Looking back at those memories is just a remembrance of all the joy and love you had, even though it might be a hard moment in time, but it reminds you of everything that you had prior.
Do the images of Midnight that you have bring you comfort and healing even today?
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Because you can now look at those memories and laugh and think about seatbelts and the crazy things.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. Yeah. That they are definitely memories that I look at from time to time. I still wish that I had more of them, of the two of us together. I have plenty of him. I have tons of him, and he did a lot of agility work and stuff too. He was very, very good at that.
What drew you to One Last Network and learning about pet loss grief and trying to have a deeper understanding of it?
I it drew me because of what I felt I wanted to give my clients, and I wanted to give them pictures for their dogs, for yeah, pictures for them for their for their memories,
Mhm.
and I wanted pictures of them with their dogs, and how can I best support them? So if I'm doing this for them, I want to support them in that. So I want to learn what I can in order to give them that support. So that's what drew me.
We're not always in our clients' lives for a long time, and we're not always in our clients' lives for a good time. How do you take what you've learned and shift your sessions for people who are in anticipatory grief and support them in ways that you may not have before?
I think I start talking to them a little bit about bucket list things now that I didn't before. I also approach even my regular sessions a little bit differently because you never know.
Mm.
You don't know what's around the corner next week or next year. You know, Midnight was only 4 years old. I do take some different shots, like of their ears or their fur, something that people might not think of immediately that they want, but down the road they might.
When you were talking earlier about rescue dogs and the working with the inmates in that program, you used the term second chance a few times. When you think back about those blind puppies that weren't even given a first chance, what does it mean to you to give those dogs a second chance and help them find their place in the world?
It definitely brings meaning to my work because I have had a number of times when I was told that seeing a picture of mine, either in my blog or on social media or something, is what brought prospective adopters into Second Chance, and they fell in love with the dog that they saw. So yeah, that I love that means everything to me.
Yeah, that's great. So now, if you could give people in the New York area one piece of advice, whether it's about adopting a dog or getting their portraits taken or making their bucket list or what have you, what would it be?
Get pictures of your dog. Yes. Have images taken, whether it's by a professional or not, but I feel that you need to have images taken. Uh, Ultimately, I think going to a professional like me would be great because you're not taking these selfies that are all angled and and weird positions, and but take pictures of yourself with your dog.
Do you see things differently? Not just your photography sessions, but do you see life differently since what you went through with Midnight?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Trying to think. Oh yeah, he uh, Midnight was. I got Midnight at a time after I had been through some physical things. I had had breast cancer and stuff. So he, even though I got him afterwards, he was still a comfort to me
Mm.
of every for I was had moved to a new place. I had taken on a new job, and so he was my comfort in all the transition that I had at that time. Losing him, I guess I felt how much of a support he was to me. And but yeah, I do see life differently.
Nancy, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure getting to know you a little bit better and learning about Midnight and his wiliness. Let's call it wiliness.
Okay.
Many animal lovers often hashtag our Instagram posts with Pets are family. But really, they're even more than that. They are our constant companions, like Midnight, who never left Nancy's side. And they are our confidants, like Shep, who comforted me through a lot of personal pain in the 2000s. Their love and loyalty are unconditional. I know Shep would have defended me to the death if he had to. And when I flipped through his photos after he was gone, I realized the only photos I had of us together were silly selfies. I asked my friends on Facebook, many of whom were hobby photographers like me at the time, if they had any. They came through for me. They shared quick snaps they took when they knew I wasn't paying attention. They saw us as we were. The bestiest best friends. It was a sign for me, too, that there was something more I could be doing with my life than copywriting for telecommunications companies and job search websites. It's how I and many of my colleagues fall into this business, and it's the best dang job I've ever had. Even better than hanging around hockey rinks and writing about the games. Next week, Nancy takes over the question asking and talks to Linda Coletti of the Pet Loss Resource Center in Wisconsin. Linda is dedicated to providing a safe place for pet parents experiencing grief from the loss of their fur friends. Until then, I'm Angela Schneider, owner of Big White Dog Photography in Spokane, Washington, and your host at One Last Network, signing off to go get some Bella snuggles. Listen to One Last Network on whichever podcast platform you prefer. We're on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Music, and Amazon Music. Don't forget to hit follow or subscribe so you don't miss an episode. If you have a friend who might be interested in our content, make sure you share us with them. Thanks for listening.